Welcome back to the Dose Leprechauns podcast. As you can see, I am Leprechaun Nate. Without the other part of Dose Leprechauns, and that's Leprechaun Jason. He is at his new job in Surprise, so big ups to him for that new job, and big congratulations once again. So today, bye week, it's kind of nice just to kick back, watch football, watch stress-free football, not have to worry about, who Notre Dame's playing in the later slate or who's Notre Dame playing in the afternoon slate. So we're kind of gonna break down what we've seen from Notre Dame through the season so far through 7 games. Preview the Boston College game and the remaining games here in a little bit. So we're supposed to be joined by some other Dos Leprechauns members, but for now, I'm just going to talk a little bit about our next matchup next weekend against Boston College. Boston College obviously is struggling really badly. They're 1-6 so far. They play later tonight against Louisville. Um, Louisville's probably going to dominate tonight. Boston College is 1-6. They have a lot of issues at quarterback. They've gone through 2 different quarterbacks. So that's kind of been a major issue. And then the game after that is a very rare Notre Dame Navy night game at Notre Dame Stadium. So that's pretty interesting. A lot of intrigue to that game. Navy's the only remaining undefeated team on Notre Dame's schedule. So you can point to that Navy game and say, hey, that Navy team scares me. And honestly, I wouldn't say it scares me, but it's probably our toughest matchup remaining. Navy right now is playing Florida Atlantic, and they're in a dogfight. They've been in a dogfight in almost every single one of their games. And this game against FAU isn't any different. They're only up 21-13 as we head into the fourth quarter in that game. So a lot to keep your eye on. Navy, if they can be undefeated by the time that we play them in 2 weeks, that would be huge, because then that would probably mean Navy's ranked. It wouldn't be, top 15 ranking, anything like that, but I could easily see, Navy ranked 23rd, 25, something like that, something in that range. So that would be really helpful for our strength of schedule. Speaking of strength of schedule, big one tonight, obviously a lot of narratives involved in the Texas A&M and LSU game. If A&M can win for us, that would be huge. If they can win, that probably boots Brian Kelly out of Death Valley, and I would love to see that, because then that would unfortunately mean that I'd have to root against another team that Brian Kelly goes to, whether that be Penn State or whoever that guy ends up going to. So, like I said, big game in that thing. And then, of course, later in the season, the week after the Navy game, is the second to last road game, and that's against Pitt. And Pitt is a high-flying offense, high-powering offense. They've also gone through 2 different quarterbacks. They're starting their freshman quarterback right now, and right now they're beating NC State, who Notre Dame played earlier this year, 41-20. Right now, Pitt is starting Mason Heinschel. I don't really know how to pronounce that, but Mason H. And he's done pretty good. He's not turned the ball over a lot. Today he's got 384 passing yards, 3 passing touchdowns, and we're only in the third quarter, and he'll probably be out of the game after Pitt scores another touchdown or 2, or maybe even in the fourth quarter. And then after that Pitt game, Notre Dame goes to play their senior game against Syracuse at home. And, Syracuse is obviously, there were big storylines supposed to come into that game. The return to Notre Dame Stadium of Steve Angeli. But Steve Angeli unfortunately got injured during the Clemson game for Syracuse. And now Syracuse is really struggling. All right, we have a guest joining us. That is Joe of Fighting Irish Faithful. Joe, how you doing today?
It's been one of those bye weeks where instead of it being a honeydew list, it's you plan this out ahead of time. So I literally have been painting my back fence all day.
Karate Kid style. I like it.
No, not that. I got a sprayer, but yeah, that would be more fun if that was the case. Actually, that would be less fun now that I think about it.
Yeah,
Uh,
it'd be a lot more work. So we're just kind of breaking down, some of the opponents that we got. I kind of wanted to dive into. I said that Navy was the most concerning team for me.
mm.
Concerning in quotes. Left on the schedule for Notre Dame. Could you give me yours? Who's your most concerning team?
Yeah. Um, what would my experience with Notre Dame football be without Pitt? Um, Pitt and I go back. We've got a lot of bad blood, bad history. I was at the Sprinkler game, which I think was '08. I was actually with my dad, so I actually don't remember much of the game other than sprinklers and just hanging out with my dad. And then I was at the 2012 three overtime heart attack game, the best game I've seen at Notre Dame Stadium, other than the IU game last year. Um, Much wine was consumed post game after that victory. Great. And then my brother-in-law is actually a grad of Pitt, so I've got some skin in the game with family. So what would I be without having Pitt TSD, right? So
Yeah, 100%. That makes total sense. You know, we were talking about Pitt's offense a little bit. They're high powering offense, and that is what concerns me about that Pitt game. I don't think their defense is to the caliber that some of the teams Notre Dame has played this year.
right,
So that's a good thing. And I was just talking about Navy. I think if Navy wins this week, they're still going to be undefeated. If they win next week, they'll be 8-0 heading into our matchup. So that could
yeah.
be a big ranked win at home.
I agree. I think Boston College is kind of a laydown here, and then we've got Navy, like you're saying. I'm for people who've listened to my show streaming through the Dos Leprechauns YouTube channel. I'm a fan of TeamRankings.com in the sense that it goes with my bag of scotch and spreadsheets and statistics. But it breaks down all the games and who's the easiest remaining and who's toughest. And that website is saying that Pitt is the toughest. It's putting Navy actually at second easiest, which I'm a little suspicious of that just because we have a history of Navy. I don't know, and they're going to be undefeated most likely when we play them.
Yeah, that really is surprising because you look at the remaining schedule and it's not the best teams. I guess you'd say you got Syracuse after that Pitt game at home, the senior game, and then you got You travel to Stanford, and Stanford has just looked awful this year. They had a big win against Florida State last week, but I mean that's their biggest win, I guess I'd say.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. That's really surprising.
It really is interesting that some of the I mean like look at Georgia Tech, they're rocking and rolling, and it seems like every time we play them, they're they're terrible, right?
Yeah.
Um and now all of a sudden, like the year we don't play them, it's they're like the best team in the ACC. So we play Clemson, and it's always a hard fought battle when it's not at Notre Dame, it seems. Um, but now they're not doing good at all right now. So I mean, it's things are upside down. Dogs are with cats, and we have a bye week, so the world is off its axis right now.
Yep, 100%. We just need as much chaos in front of us as humanly possible.
Yeah.
And with a lot of ranked opponents playing each other, this is the perfect week to just kick up your feet and sit back and relax and watch the chaos unfold.
Yeah, I that will be my evening activity, post cleanup of painting for 7 hours. But what's funny is my dad gives me a call and he's like, "Hey, what do you think of, IU beating up UCLA?" And I'm like, "I saw the score, like, while I was, like, washing my hands briefly, and that was it." Like, I know nothing of football right now, so I'm gonna take it in like Neo in the Matrix getting the kung fu program, and I'll be like scrolling on my phone going, "Whoa."
That's,
Maybe
that's a great reference.
happened, I don't know.
That's a great reference. Yeah, there are some very interesting scores at the moment. South Carolina is trailing Alabama by 2 right now. BYU just took the lead on Iowa State. They're up
Mm.
3 at the end of the third quarter. Iowa State was dominating that game earlier. Let's see, just checking on some other scores. Navy, like I said, they're up 8 at the moment.
Okay.
And oh wow, Texas is down 10 to Mississippi State.
Well,
Interesting.
and Vandy's beating Missouri, it looks like, in the fourth quarter. That's a
Yeah, 10-3.
10-3. What is this, a Big Ten game in November? Good God.
All right, so let's kind of go. Let's talk about Notre Dame a little bit. Who has been your under the radar player this year?
Oh gosh. I'm gonna say Dallas Golden on the defense because he has been a shining star coming forward. I mean, we knew that the offense was going to be well. I knew Faison was going to be, you know, basically just pick up where he's basically been always. We knew our running backs were going to be well. Me, we all thought Carr was going to do well. So nothing is really surprising me with the offense. So I have to go over to the defense. And so then it's someone like a Dallas Golden, someone who's going to make a splash, young talent that, I think Notre Dame and our fan base can enjoy watching, and he can be a valuable contributor to the Irish.
Yeah, that's a great player there. I'm gonna go offensively. I'm gonna go with the whole offensive line. I think they struggled in that first game, but the way they've bounced back these last few games have been incredible, and the time they've given to CJ Carr is,
Mm-hmm.
really making things happen. Making J Love and Jadarian Price the stars and Heisman candidates that we know now, and
Oh yeah.
it's great to see.
And it's kind of refreshing that that this is happening, going on. And obviously everyone was really all over the place, and we were not in a good place when we were 0-2. I'll just put it that way, right? I don't think any Notre Dame fan was happy. Um, but it's funny. It reminds me a lot of Freeman's first season in the sense that the O-line was struggling in that season as well. Buckner gets his shoulder crunched, the whole bit. And then as the season goes on, we're just destroying people. The Boston College game in the snow, for example. And Drew Pine eventually was getting better, but he was getting better because he had more confidence in his own line that was protecting him and enabling him to find open receivers, i.e. Michael Mayer. But point being, the O-line will progress as that unit be, finds more cohesion among them. So I like your take there with the O-line.
Yeah, I like your Dallas Golden pick there. It's a good pick. We have a audience member that said Will Pauling stood out to Amber Sullivan. That's a great poll. I think he's been a great captain since
Absolutely.
since he's gotten some targets. Been great.
Yeah.
So let's go into this other question. Let's talk about some recruiting. The Irish seem to be getting a new commitment every week. Who is your can't miss guy on this recruiting trail?
Now, which year are you referring to? Are you referring to 2026 class or 2027?
Let's do 2026.
2026. I'm gonna pull it up. So I'm actually following 2027 only because I've got from my high school, our safety has an offer to Notre Dame. Now he's pretty cold on everybody, so I'm a little watching 2027 right now. So forgive me as I'm pulling things up. I was excited when Rodney Dunham committed. Obviously, but I mean, we need those. Let me put it another way. Defensive line, I think at Notre Dame is one of the hardest positions to recruit. I think we were very blessed in 2012, with the likes of Lewis Nix, and then you had, Capron Lewis Moore, who was this, kind of, you know, old Rip Man Winkle kind of, wise one who was a captain, and then Stephon Tuitt, et cetera. Right. So I think we were blessed, and there was alignment of stars to do that consistently year in and year out, to have, just beasts on the D line is difficult. And so I think when you have a a heady place like Notre Dame, very academic, and all these other things that we love about Notre Dame, I sometimes think that's a little more difficult to draw that kind of a talent to Notre Dame. That's just my opinion. So seeing that we're getting high end defensive line recruits, edge rushers in the case of Rodney Dunham, I think that is the trend we need to go. Because I mean, let's face it, if your D line is mauling people, you disrupt the passing game of your opponent. The opponent cannot run the football, and so your defense looks great.
Yeah, 100%. Great pull there. I'm going to go with a former Dos Leprechauns guest and a guy that I just keep seeing on Twitter. That's Javen Osborne.
Mhm.
He's electrifying. I feel like he's a guy that can immediately make a difference in a running back room that's loaded. And you might lose a J Love, you might lose Price, but then you got guys coming in that are just chomping at the bit just to play a snap or two or get in there, and they're all about Notre Dame. So I love guys like that, but it's even better when they're extremely gifted talent.
I think I like that you're pulling up the running backs here. Anyone who's listened to my show knows what that bell means. But yeah, run the damn ball. And with what Notre Dame, the environment they're creating of, look, we have two amazing talents at running back. They're both playing. They're both contributing, and it's about team success. And so I think that is translating well. And someone like Osborne who's committing, I think is fantastic.
Yeah, yeah, it is. Let's stay on the topic of running backs. Let's do a bold take here. Is Jadarian Price and Jeremiah Love in the Heisman conversation at the moment?
I don't think Jadarian Price is, just because, like, and it's not because I don't like him, obviously. If we want to, I won't get into too much of the math and the statistics, but Price is much more efficient as a running back than Love is. However, Love has an electricity to him, kind of in the same way that Josh Adams did. But Jeremiah Love is much more productive than Josh Adams is, as far as his efficiency in scoring, and then the overall amount of touchdowns he's getting. Um, so he needs to have like the Heisman moment. Like, that always seems to be something. You it needs to, it's built on electricity. You have to be on a winning team as well. Unless you're Colorado, but that's something else. But seriously, I think with the momentum he has, and his just got so much electricity and speed, and all he has to do is hurdle a few people more, and keep putting up some good yard points. I think he's gonna make a name for himself, because these other guys on these other teams, they're gonna lose or whatever, and they're gonna have bad games. Like they were talking about Carson Beck like 2 weeks ago, and
Yeah.
so no, like, if this was what's the show with the roses, The Bachelor? Like, you don't have a
Mhm.
rose anymore, right? That shit got put in the trash now. So I don't know, and I'm a little negative with the Heisman, although, like, it is a big deal. Like, don't get me wrong. I've got my own opinions about that, but I agree. I think he can get there. He just got to keep doing this thing. And if Notre Dame is winning and we're running the damn ball well with him, you know, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I agree with the Jadarian Price take. I don't think he's gotten enough of a shine, I guess you'd say, to win the Heisman. I think Love definitely has. So I guess we'll see in the next few weeks. Let's go over some comments real fast. This one's from Evan Mondragon. Obviously, we need chaos in front of us, but what if the Irish win out? Are we a lock?
Unfortunately, with two losses, no, we are not a lock with the two losses. We do need people above us to lose. However, what I will say is this is the like we don't have a lot of good sample size with respect to the 12 team playoff. So like by year 6 or whatever of the 4-team playoff, it was well defined of like how that was going to work, right? With the 12-team playoff, it's a little different, and they've changed the rules recently about the seedings and this, that, and the other. Um, with conference champions, getting automatic bids and stuff, i.e., someone like Boise. So, so that kind of stuff. I think we don't have history to rely on to say, well, two, lost teams that made the playoffs, da 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 da. Like, and we don't have a conference championship to help us, you know, go the distance, right? Um, so that's a struggle. And with respect to Evan's question here, I think we need chaos and a few more of these bigger programs to lose, and have 2 or 3 losses, right, and drop out.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think we're a lock as much as we were last year, but I think there's definitely a solid chance that we get in. We got Luis, the Notre
Yeah.
Dame super fan, says, "What up, Joe? My boy Joe."
Luis is our front man for my show on Tuesday nights. So usually if he comes in, we move him to the front of the line because he riles up the crowd. He gets everyone rolling for us. So, and he had a good story, seeing people like Tony Rice and Chris Zorich, and I guess he ran into Dan Patrick. So he ran into a bunch of people, coming out from Reno, Nevada, to South Bend for the SC game. So
That's very cool. And then we got Sean Hagan. He says, "Make me feel good about our kicking game, Nate." I don't think I can. Joe, are you able to?
kicking? No. Like, is Justin Yoon back there? I don't know. It's not. So I mean, I don't think. Let me put it another way. I am not praying the rosary every time we kick a PAT like I was when someone like Nick Tausch was back there, right? I felt like when I was a grad student in the 08, 09 years, it was kind of like dice rolling, it seemed, with PAT kicks, it seemed. And it's just like, so we're kind of past that. So it's like, yeah, just do your job, right? Field goals, like I felt like Door was a lock when it was like 40 plus, and when you get to the 50s, okay, it's a little different there. But like in that 20 space, I was like, I don't know if Door's gonna hit it. So right now I don't have consistency with kickers. Like everyone's good, and then we got people being injured. And so it's like, and it feels like it's someone new. It's always a transfer or something now. And maybe that's just kind of what we're doing with kickers now. I'll be honest, I haven't paid too much attention to it to be very disciplined and sound intelligent. So I'm gonna just
Perfectly said. Perfectly said. Uh, I think Noah Burnett's been hurt, and I think he's been playing hurt these past few weeks. So I guess that would be the slight confidence that you could have. Maybe when he comes back, that he's healthier and we're able to make these kicks. But luckily it hasn't come back to bite us other than the A&M game. But that's a whole nother story.
yeah. I mean, I think there's a lot of things you could throw at the A&M game. Someone's hot dog wrapper flapped in the wind a different way, and we might win that game. Like there's a lot of things that went on in that game. That were just not right, that made it not Notre Dame's night. And I
No,
have to look at the defense just because of the score, but there was a bunch of other things. You can throw kicking in there, absolutely.
yeah, it was a messed up game. We got another question from Evan. Says, "Thanks for answering." Last question: Since you brought up recruiting, how do you think they will attack the transfer portal next year? Thanks, Jeff. Let's start, or Joe. Let's start with you. Sorry.
My response to this is it depends on who enters the transfer portal, right? Like we're near the end of October here. I don't know of any. There's no one I have seen or heard of from any other school where it's like, oh, we got to get this guy, now. So it's going to be one of those things like when it gets around to playoff time and bowl season, when people are saying, okay, I'm entering the transfer portal, because some team is not making the playoffs and no one wants to go to the, you know, Las Vegas Bowl or something, right? So my to respond to Evan's question, it depends because on who's entering the portal and um who where we Notre Dame have a need, because we're going to have guys that are going to enter the portal, and we're going to have guys declaring to the NFL, et cetera, right? So it depends on who's out there. Um,
Yeah, I
I
agree.
can't speak intelligently about it because it's like, well, I don't know what I'm going to go shopping for.
Yeah, that's 100% true. I think just speaking off of need for next year, maybe some interior defensive linemen, but I feel like that's a need every year. There's not a quote unquote need like there was after that 2022 season with Drew Pine.
Right, right.
Like we need a quarterback. We don't need a quarterback. We
No,
have our quarterback. Don't need running backs. We have our running backs. Don't need receivers. Have a bunch of receivers. Don't need tight ends. So it's just kind of a lot of it's gonna come out when we get to the playoffs and get through the playoffs, and we're talking about next year in February, and hey, we need this guy, or like one of the guys I remember like really wanting but not thinking we were gonna get is Zachariah Branch, the transfer from SC. I think he's
okay.
at Georgia now. But that was the only one that I like wanted last year.
Mm.
So yeah, we'll see next year
You
at
know
the end of
what?
next
One thing I think that plays into this question is with transfer portal, you're getting a guy, and so you can kind of see film on him playing in college, right? Um, but the where I'm going with this is right now per 24/7 Sports, Notre Dame is fourth composite ranking in the 2026 class. So we have not been a top 5 team in recruiting in probably decades. Okay, like probably since the Weiss years. Okay, so we're gonna bring in that talent. It's young talent. It's raw and untested, right? But sometimes that's what you need. And in a sense, I mean, look at Dallas Golden, who I mentioned earlier. Um, and Carr, who's redshirt. We've got young talent that is seeing the field, and so that's a good thing. And so the need, as you pointed out, Nate, to go to the portal and grab one of these guys may not necessarily be as apparent as it was in past years.
Yeah, 100%. Perfectly put. I think that's a perfect spot to leave off on. We're nearing that about 30 minutes. We'd like to, try to keep it at just to, it's a bye week. Just kind of get
My
it
wife
in.
appreciates that, by the way.
um, just want to, shout out some scores here real fast. Pitt took a 25-point lead. They're heading into the fourth quarter.
Mm,
South Carolina took the lead on Bama at the end of the third quarter. BYU extended their lead on Iowa State,
dang it.
and Mississippi State still leads on Texas. And Navy took a bigger lead on Florida Atlantic.
Are you saying Texas is not back?
They've never been back. Never been back. All that preseason hype for
Oh
losing to Mississippi
God.
State. All right, so like I said, we're gonna wrap it up. Joe, thanks for hopping on and
Absolutely. Thanks for the
talking
invite.
football. Of course, of course. We will see you all next week when the Irish take on Boston College. We'll be back here. Question mark whenever the game gets announced. We'll
Right.
know by Monday afternoonish.
Yes.
So we'll give you that time and all that next week. And before then, listen to Joe's podcast, the Fighting Irish Faithful podcast, and go Irish, beat Boston College.
Gosh.